Well, good morning, everybody who's joining us both on News 6 Plus and the News 6 YouTube channel. It's been a minute. We have not been in the Digital Weather Center in a considerable amount of time, mainly due to the holidays and everything else that was going on, not only with my own schedule, but the other meteorologists here on the Pinpoint Weather team. But it's great to be back, at the helm. I'm going to try to start to get more consistent with these, especially with how much winter weather we have that's expected to pretty much buffet the state of Florida. And we're going to talk all about that this morning. So thank you so much for those of you who are tuning in over on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 YouTube channel. Day Trade 28 over on YouTube in the chat says, Happy New Year. Yes, everybody out there watching. And even if you're not watching and you come back to watch this after the fact, happiest of New Year's, Merry Christmas, every holiday that I've been absent from the desk. I do hope that you had a fantastic swing through the season. And now we are full-fledged back to business, back to the grind. Can't believe it's already January 6th, honestly. If you're out there watching on News 6 on YouTube, let me know what your thoughts are on that. I feel as if time is flying. It's already been over 10 days since Christmas. It's already been 6 days since we rang in the new year. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, because on top of ringing in the new year and all that fun jazz, it is busy out there. You can see on our water vapor satellite shot on the right-hand side of the United States, we have Winter Storm Blair that is going absolutely crazy up the eastern seaboard. We have lake effect snow, heavy snow on the north and western side of where the center of the low is. It looks like the center is starting to stack back, as it's called, pull back into the cold sector, the coldest air of its supporting jet. And as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and have some fun here. Let's start drawing. Let's do my favorite thing. I want to doodle for everybody. I haven't been able to do this in a little bit, so let me get my face out of the image, and let's start doing some drawing here. So this here, where you can see the shades of black shooting right up into the surge region of the low is what it's called. This area I'm looking at right here, that is called your surge region of the low pressure center, the parent low system. This looks to be where the center is right now. It's back in the cold air. Your jet's running through right here. Then you have all this deformation out ahead of it, which is where you get all your crazy winter weather, your freezing precip, then the transition back down to rainfall. And then the frontal line is back through here, just rocking through Pensacola, parts of Atlanta, Georgia right now. And that's what's headed our way. That's what has us in the risk zone for at least a marginal threat for some severe weather in the form of straight line winds. I don't really anticipate we're going to have anything else beyond just some gusty winds with this frontal line come through. You can see here, this is the temperature outlook for the next 14 days. This goes all the way out to January 16th. I know it says at the top January 12th through the 16th, but you know, we can kind of put the puzzle pieces together and know that we have a front coming in right now, and that's what's going to substantially drop our temperatures. And especially if you're watching over on YouTube, I'm sure you've seen all the videos, all the hubbub, all the hype, all the winter weather folks out there talking about snow in Florida and teen temperatures. Neither of which are going to happen. I'm here to tell you the truth, and I've been trying to fight tooth and nail. I was just scrolling TikTok moments ago, which if you have the means, feel free to drop me a follow both on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, Weather Center _Nazario, or just search me up by my name, David Nazario. And I provide daily updates, at least I try to give daily updates, if not every other day updates in the digital realm on this winter and severe weather. So this is the temperature outlook from Climate Prediction Center for the next 2 weeks. It is going to be cold. And then here is your severe risk for the day today. Again, we are in a level 1 risk, primarily for our northernmost counties. Yesterday morning, when I was on the television side of things, we had it blanketed all the way down through Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, Osceola, and Brevard. That's how far south that dark shade of green extended. You can see that Storm Prediction Center has backed off on that now. And primarily Marion, parts of it looks like Lake County. You can kind of cut Lake County or Sumter County in half there. Then you have Putnam County and Flagler County still getting in on that level 1 low-end risk for some gusty winds, potentially damaging winds as this feature goes through. And the winds are going to be the name of the game. I'm going to show you that here in a second. But first, let's go ahead and track what's going on out there right now. You can see on the northern apex, the top portion of this radar here, we have the snowfall. You can see the snowfall ripping through parts of Kentucky, trying to get into Tennessee. I want to say that this is quite potentially, I don't know, maybe we'll have to check that out. Oh, yeah, no, it looks like that's just false returns by the radar. I don't think that's a whole bunch of snow falling in Alabama or Mississippi right now. Perhaps I will go ahead and do some digging after this, and what I'm looking at is going to be this here. Let me go ahead and stop the loop. There's some shades right in through here of the blue returns indicating snow. I really don't think that's what's happening right now. It looks like it could be a pseudo echo from the radar itself because of how cold it is and the moisture still going through there. Here's our squall line from the front. Then there's your actual bona fide snow to the north, and then the freezing rain back behind where that cursor overlay is right there. I'll go ahead and play the loop again. There's your freezing rain in North Carolina. It looks like they're getting quite a bit of it too, which is not good. That's where it becomes severe winter weather. We have the severe thunderstorms, the severe weather down here that we're very familiar with. That is severe winter weather. Now I'm very curious, though. I think after this live stream, I'm going to go ahead and double check and see if whether or not Mississippi and Alabama are seeing snow. I don't see how they could be getting snow. Looking at the satellite loop to my left here, I don't know, but I really do think that that's a false image, a false return on the radar there. Now, let's get into the winds. Go ahead and fast forward here. There goes our first system, and you can see even well after the system passes through, we're going to have gusts anywhere between 15 to 20 miles an hour, at least the first 48 hours after the low kicks out and that front comes through, which is really going to chill us out. Then we have that thing right there, which is another system that's expected to pull down even more cold air and could bring up our rain chances for particularly Friday and then Saturday, the first half of the day. That's the one that I think is going to be the kicker here very soon in possibly creating some snowfall for the South. Now, I'm not sold on snowfall for anyone besides Texas, Arkansas, the extreme northwest quadrant of Mississippi, and then from there, it all transitions up to the Ohio, Mississippi valleys. You can see here that none of our models are thinking snowfall for anybody currently, which is why I think the radar is wrong in that case. But then if you move over to the GFS here, you can see the snow band tries to get in, and I say tries to get into the Louisiana border, the upper Mississippi and Alabama borders, but I've been looking at some things called skew-Ts. Basically a vertical profile of the atmosphere, looking at temperature, moisture, how much instability, lift, all that fun jazz there is available. And I'm seeing diagrams that look way more reminiscent of icing, of grapple, of sleet, maybe ice pellets perhaps. I don't really see your textbook signature for legitimate snowfall. So it's going to be a stretch. I have a lot of folks over on TikTok especially who have been asking if Louisiana, Mississippi, even Georgia and South Carolina are going to see snow. It's going to be a fight. I'm not sold on it, but is the potential there? You can see here, absolutely. We switch over to the European model, and the Euro also is showing a little bit of that snowfall. You can see it's slowly working its way down the front range of the Rockies. It's going to start to build up as we go through the day on Wednesday, late night Wednesday, and then into Thursday is when it's expected to start to track out over the southern plains. Let me go ahead and expand this loop for just a second. Let's see here. This is the NAM. I want to go to the full 90-hour point on the NAM so we can take a look at all the snowfall. It doesn't look like it's going to let me go beyond 60 hours. That's okay. We'll go ahead and switch over to the European model now, and you'll go ahead and see even the Euro is locked in on our snow risk, starting to go up for our neighbors out there in Texas, New Mexico, and then the Euro has been very consistent, extremely consistent with where it wants to pull the snowfall. You can see once again trying to get into that upper periphery of Mississippi, maybe a few flurries in Alabama, but we're really going to have to watch what the temperature profile looks like for Alabama and our neighbors up to the north. And the reason I bring this up is I want to show everybody in Central Florida who's watching right now that despite, folks trying to get the clicks, it worked. It really did. All of us here in News 6, we're flabbergasted at the amount of likes, shares, how so many posts went viral talking snow in Tampa, snow in Orlando. And dare I say, there were a lot of folks who believed it because they shared images of those happy hour model runs. And now they're going to have egg on their faces. Or I should say, we will, because even though the influencers out there are the ones sharing all the weird information, it comes back to us because we carry that title, meteorologist. But you know what? It is what it is. We'll roll with the punches and, we'll get all through it together. I wanted to show you this before we get ready to take our first break, and then we'll digest this a little bit more once we come back. But look at the substantial gradient that is out there currently. We're looking really mild, and it's only 11:40 in the morning here in Central Florida, and we're still warming ever so slightly with the front back up here still, the cold air lagging back. Since we are dealing with Arctic air, I wrote a blurb about it on clickorlando.com if you'd like to go check that out. Arctic air is very shallow. It's extremely shallow, so it has a very gradual gradient. And I'll explain that once we come back here in a moment, but you can see there's something different about this front that's coming through. It's not going to be your bona fide polar air to where we drop into the 40s, 60s in the afternoon, and then we bounce back within a day or two, maybe 3. No, it'll be different. So coming up after the break, stick with us. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk all about the temperature drop, the temperature fluctuations, and how to stay ahead of it here in Central Florida. We'll talk to you again very soon. Be right back. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back over on News 6 Plus and on our YouTube channel. So let's get back into kind of digesting this and explaining the bit of the differences between what it is that we're seeing on an ordinary winter day in Central Florida versus this anomalously strong cold outbreak. So right out of the gate, I want you to pay close attention to what is going on over in Dallas, over in Little Rock. 27-degree temperature for the high today. 29-degree in Arkansas. Then we have 56 in New Orleans, and we're up to 73, 72 in Orlando. That is an extreme temperature gradient, which is the difference between one point and another. Your gradient would be right in through here. That would be your temperature gradient, and it drops almost 50 degrees between Jacksonville and Little Rock. This is much closer to 40, but if you take 40, subtract it from 73, you get 33. So we're approximately 34 degrees different in between the two areas, which is insane. That goes to show just how dense the air is, and this also does a fantastic job of showing just how shallow that Arctic air is. And that's why typically when we do analysis, and I want to fact check myself, I feel like I just said almost 50 degrees, and I think my math might have gotten dorked up. I'm not too sure. Somebody in the chat, mess with me for a second. Call me out on my blonde moment. Either that or I'm just still tired from recovering from the holiday shenanigans and all the flying around my schedule has been. But anyways, that is almost a 35 to 40 degree gradient right there, which is very excessive. And it goes to show that Arctic air comes in a very shallow slope, which is also why our wind speeds are going to go up as high as they are, and why the wind chill factor is going to be an issue for everybody, not only here in Central Florida, but across the United States. If you look, we're the only ones left on the map currently to face the blustery and the almost painful wind chills. You can see across the plains, -12 in Bismarck, 0 degrees even is what it feels like in Sioux Falls, -6 in Omaha, Nebraska, -9 in central Kansas. And then you can see even here the difference between Birmingham, Atlanta, and Orlando. We have an even more excessive gradient there. You subtract 40 degrees from Orlando, and you're left with 33 degrees. So in this case, we're much closer to a 45, 50 degree gradient between our friends up there in Alabama and us waiting for the arrival of this system down in Central Florida. And again, it shows how stark contrast the air masses are. We're going between two air masses. Typically during the wintertime down here in Central Florida, we go from a subtropical, tropical-esque air mass environment is what we'll call it, to a polar. That's usually what we'll get down here is fresh polar air from Canada. This is as Arctic as you can get, which is why it irks me sometimes when people will say Arctic, and it's clearly we're just dropping 10, 15 degrees. You can tell the difference. Even from an analysis perspective, we have to look at different places, different levels in our atmosphere to identify what type of air is coming. And it's important to know for not only you all to prepare, but for us as meteorologists to determine what kind of impacts we could see, both weather-related and just physically in terms of us, our animals, plants, agriculture, our livestock, all sorts of different information that we have to disseminate to everybody on a regular basis. This is the wind chill out there right now, and you can see as it's sneaking into Pensacola, we're already at about a 30-some-odd degree difference between where we're watching from and where we sit here in Orlando to our neighbors up there in Pensacola, which is incredible. There is a lot of cold air coming. Now, just very quickly, I wanted to bring up the dew point to talk more about that severe risk. This is why Storm Prediction Center hasn't backed off on the potential for some strong straight-line winds with these storms. If you look, obviously we have so much dry, cold air coming in off the continental U.S. We're borrowing moisture and humidity from the Caribbean, from the Gulf of Mexico. That's why, again, not only do we have a crazy temperature gradient, but we have a dew point gradient as well. Our dew points are anywhere between 60 to maybe trying to sneak into that 70-degree threshold down here in Florida, and then up here, we're dropping fast. We're plummeting. It's kind of like Shikra at Busch Gardens. We're going straight down in terms of dew points. And right along that gradient there where I have my little zigzag line drawn, that is your point of contention, the battle zone for my OG Twister fans, as Joe said in the movie. That's because that is where your greatest levels of instability and destabilization, as it's called, occurs in the atmosphere. Hot doesn't mix with cold. It's just like trying to get water to mix with oil. It's not going to work. It's going to create some chaos. And in this case, because that Arctic air is so heavy, so thick, with 5 C's for my youngins out there, and it's so it's so aggressive of an air mass, and channeling it as far south as Florida, that's what could possibly create some, intense weather activity. Is that what's likely to happen? No, because obviously there are other precursors that need to be fulfilled in order to get that crazy level of weather activity. But there are some of those ingredients available, and that's why Storm Prediction Center doesn't want to pull any punches and leave us holding the bag as this feature rocks through. So here is our in-house model, the future radar brought to us by the Baron 3 kilometer, just the resolution there. And you can see middle of the day till about 4 or 5 o'clock is when this frontal line is going to be coming through. Some of these cells could be a little stronger, more organized. Notice how the model here has them all individual. It's not a straight line. It follows a linear fashion, but it's not a continuous slew of rainfall. When things tend to mix together, if they're not moving very fast, that's when they weaken. It's mainly just rain. We we get maybe 15, 20 mile an hour winds from it just because of the momentum of it passing through. In this case, both this model and our rapid refresh model, I'll show you in a second, are highlighting that some of these cells could be by themselves taking advantage of the local energy in that source region or that area that it's located on in Central Florida. And that's when you could get those downdrafts. As the rain comes down, you get wind that comes down from the storm as well. And that's what produces your straight line winds, as they're called. By about the 7 to 8 o'clock time frame, maybe a few folks in southern Melbourne, southern Brevard County might still be feeling the effects of that front, but by then we already have that cold air whisking through. It's going to be rushing in on the backside of this front, and that's what's going to drop our temperatures off big time as we get ready to start the day tomorrow. Here's a quick glance before we slowly but surely get ready to wrap up at that rapid refresh model. You can see, once again, following that linear fashion, some of them bleeding together over the Four Corners counties, Orange, Lake County there, getting into the northern periphery of Polk, my neck of the woods. But then you see those yellows and the reds. That's where your stronger potential storms could be. And even down there for Pinellas and Hillsborough County, you can see Tampa, St. Petersburg getting in on some heavier rainfall and some pockets of stronger, more organized convection, as it's called. So we'll have to see what happens. Not looking at anything extremely severe or anything high-end that we need to be concerned about. No tornado or hail risk in this case. We just don't have the necessary environment in play to produce those type of conditions. But the wind threat, on top of what's already going to be happening with the front, could help to accelerate things a little bit and enhance what's already out there. And then finally, last but not least, I just wanted to show you, take you through time. We have that first system coming through. That's current time right now. You can see as Winter Storm Blair clears out, we go through the day tomorrow. Plenty of cold air coming straight out of the north, due south through Florida, vacating us of any significant moisture or humidity. It is going to be bone dry out there and very cold because of the temperatures and the wind chill, bringing us down into the low to mid 20s. And then if you take a look out there over the western Gulf of Mexico and Texas, the deep south, there goes storm system numero dos, getting ready to rock through, and that could possibly raise our rain chances. Don't really think we're going to have a threat for severe. Of course, we will continue to reevaluate, see how strong this system gets, and if we can start to pull back some of that subtropical air from south of us, the Gulf of Mexico, the Florida Straits, the Gulf Stream, and the Caribbean Sea. But at this point, it looks like we are still going to be under modifying high pressure, and as a result, we won't get that stimulus that we need to create organized thunderstorms. This will more than likely just be a cold, if not a cool, rainmaker for Central Florida. And then up there to the north of us in Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, and the further west you go through our upper Gulf Coast states, that's where you could get that freezing rain, snow flurry to heavy snow threat the further north you go, since we will be diving headfirst into leftover cold air brought down by Blair right now. And let me see, I'm pretty sure I have it pulled up somewhere. Let me go ahead and I'll take you into the wind chill factor. So this way we can get ready to wrap up together here. Let's see, which one do I want? Let's go to the Central Florida wind chill map. Here we go. So this is for Wednesday. I don't know why it's starting on Wednesday. Let me change the time. No, that is local time. There it is. Now it's auto-populated. Back to Monday morning. Perfect. So that's Monday. Obviously, wind chill isn't going to be an issue there, but then notice as we go through the night tonight and the front finally spills through, it looks like a lava flow. It looks like blue lava coming across the state. There's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5, and then sunrise. Look at those feel-like temperatures. Those are the feel-like temperatures. That's pretty intense. 23 in Gainesville, 24 in Ocala, 24 in the Villages, down to 29 here in Orlando, which is a little bit of a nudge in the opposite direction in comparison to what we saw yesterday when I was taking a look at the models. And then notice the afternoon temps are going to feel like the upper 40s, low 50s. So it is going to be chilly out there. You go into Wednesday overnight, and the temperatures are going to fall just as much as they did the first night. Upper 20s to low 30s across our viewing area. So you need to make sure you are layered up. You need to make sure you're getting plenty of rest, staying hydrated. I would highly encourage you go out and seek some additional vitamins and supplements, especially if you have youngins in the house. Everybody's going back to school now as well, alongside going full force back into the office or back to work. So this whole area is going to be a petri dish for the flu. The neurovirus has been out and about most recently, among other things like just strictly the common cold. This is a breeding ground for the type of immunity or immune system crashes, just like the temperatures. So take care of yourself. Make sure you're hydrating, getting a lot of the orange juice, vitamin C, vitamin D, iron, zinc, whatever you want to throw on the table. I'm going to be making a small social media post about all that later on this afternoon. And then check out our article on clickorlando.com for a little bit more of an in-depth discussion on all this cold weather and the fact that it is going to be lingering for not only today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, but beyond that with that second system that's approaching as we go through this next upcoming weekend. So welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your Monday morning. It doesn't even feel like a Monday for me, but you know what? It is, per the calendar, January 6th, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a fantastic start to the first full week of 2025. We'll see you back again tomorrow to discuss exactly what's going on out there, especially once we do pretty much freeze for all intents and purposes, and then we'll start to discuss exactly what's coming down the pike with that next system into the weekend and then thereafter, because it looks like winter is now in full force, full swing. And if you'd like to come over to my personal YouTube channel, Weather Center Nazario, we're going to be looking very, 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 very far ahead at what the 2025 tornado season and tropical weather outlook looks like very soon. So have a great rest of your day, folks. We'll talk to you again very soon. But until then, this is the Digital Weather Center signing out.